Hi friends, it's Johnny once again, and today we are back with another story time. Today's story time is the time that my house burnt down. Ow. Let's get started. So this was back in, I believe it was 2008. Very long time ago at this point. So, we lived in a conjoined house. So it's one of those like houses that are connected, and there's two separate houses, but they're connected by like one wall. You know, New York stuff. So the house next door to us, the owner had passed away, but he was renting to people. And so once he passed away, the people that he was renting from apparently had to move out. So the house stood abandoned for a little bit. Obviously we were fine because we owned the house next door. So we were living there, and apparently this was during December, the night of the third, morning of the 4th, if I remember correctly. Someone apparently broke into next door and started a fire to, you know, keep warm in the northern winter. It spread and it burnt down next door and took our house with it. That's the story! No, there's more. So, I have insomnia. It's currently 5:49 in the morning and I'm still awake from the day before. Again, I have insomnia. I even had insomnia back then. And oddly enough, this night was the one night I fell asleep during the night. I fell asleep relatively early for me. I fell asleep, I want to say probably midnight, somewhere around there. You know, normal human hours of sleep. And all of a sudden, apparently, my dad had forgotten that we didn't take the garbage out to the front because, you know, the garbage gets picked up. And so you got to take it out to the front so the garbage man can come and take it. And so he gets up to go do that, and he smells smoke and fire. And then all of a sudden, he opens the door, and the house is just like smoke covering the whole like top, like going up. They try to wake us up. I don't want to wake up. My sister, she could sleep through a nuclear bomb. She is out cold. So my mom wakes my sister up, and mom's like, there's a fire. And my sister's like, well, I'm sleeping. And goes back to sleep. And my mom's like, get your ass up, there's a fire. And so my sister runs out. I have a hard time getting up too. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, when I woke up, I could not understand what she was saying. She's like, like, I heard like a teacher from Charlie Brown, like, and I'm just looking at her, my head, because I had a loft bed, in the smoke. And I'm like, what are you saying? And then like, I'm coming to it, and she's like, there's a fire. And so I don't remember touching the ladder. I like jumped out of my bed. And so I'm running out of the house, and my dad already, like, while mom was trying to get us up out of the bed, my dad went upstairs and told, because we had a 2-family house, told our tenants to, you know, evacuate. And so they got out already. And so my dad comes back in and he's like, grab the dog. Okay, I promise you I'm not a bad person. I promise you I'm not a bad person. We had just gotten the dog a couple months ago. I wasn't very attached to the dog. Everyone was out of the house but me, and I was left in charge of like chasing this dog to try to catch it and get it out of the house. So I'm running trying to catch it, and the dog's like happily jumping through flames and smoke and shit like this is some kind of game.
You don't have a thought behind those eyes, do you? Sweet boy.
And so I look at the dog. Remember, I'm still half asleep, okay? I'm half asleep. And I'm not a bad person. I look at the dog, who's still like happily jumping through the smoke and stuff, and I just look at it and go, and run up there. I still feel so bad about that. I still feel so bad about that. And I'm smiling and laughing because when I'm nervous and I feel bad, I smirk and laugh. But my dad sees me without the dog and like, where's the dog? So dad runs back into the house to grab the dog. By this time the fire department comes and we're all sitting outside. Again, it is night of December 3rd, morning of December 4th. It is winter time in New York. It is cold. It's already snowed a couple of times. It's brick. It is ice cold outside, okay? So we're sitting out there. They decide to like, I guess they grabbed the keys while they were running out. So they opened up the car and we sat in the car and we're just there watching our house kind of go up in flames and firemen like running in. No one offered anything. Our other neighbors, you know, on the block, one old guy that lived the opposite, like our neighbor on the opposite side, was just like, oh, you had a fire. While it's still going, like he sees fire and knows that my sister's younger at the time. I'm still a teen. you know, and he just sees and has known us for years at this point. And he's just there like, oh, you had a fire, huh? Okay, night. And goes in his house. I'm like, don't you think to try to help the family? You know what I mean? Dad got the dog, yeeted him into the car with us. He's there talking with like the fire marshal or somebody, trying to figure out what happened. So we're sitting there, and they finally get the fire under control, but the house is already done. You know, and it's not demolished, but it's a husk of what it once was. We're sitting out there like, is it safe to go inside yet? Like, no, they gotta make sure. And so, obviously they're still spraying inside even though the fire's out. And for a solid 45 minutes, we heard glass shattering inside after the fire. Why? We don't know. We didn't even have that many windows in the house. It was a conjoined house. We had windows on one side of the house. At most, there were 6 on one side, a couple in the back, and a couple in the front. Okay, there weren't that many to be going 45 minutes. But yet, all you hear is the glass shattering every which way. And we're very confused. Very, very confused. Like, why is it still happening? Like, the fire's out. I could understand needing to break 1 or 2 windows, but it felt like they just wanted to get their aggression out. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt like they were shattering every window they possibly could. And when they were done with that, they saw some picture frames of a happy family, and they were like, you know, just started breaking picture frames, saw cups and plates, and decided to smash them too. Like, there wasn't enough glass to go 45 minutes, but it went 45 minutes. We don't know what happened there. Meanwhile, my mom called my aunt. My mom's emotions were very confused that night, because mom calls my aunt and is like, my house is on fire, and she's like making a joke about it, and my aunt's like, oh, shut up. She's like, no, my house is literally on fire. Why do you think I'm calling you at like 4 o'clock in the morning? So my aunt rushes over. She calls my grandmother crying. My grandmother reminds her like, hey, yeah, you lost stuff, but everyone's safe. So that's what's really important. And that like settles my mom down. She's like, you know what, you're right. One issue is, aside from it being winter, us not having any blankets or anything or coats, because we just ran out in our pajamas, my mom decided to groom the dog the night before. This dog went through it that night because my mother had groomed him the night before, but he's still getting used to us as a family, you know, and he's not like, and he hears like the buzzing from the trimmer, so he got scared and like mom stopped halfway. So literally, she trimmed like a quarter. If you break the dog into quarters, like, okay, the front chest and left paw, the front chest and right paw, the back and the back leg, the back and the right leg, you know, she like broke him into quarters for some reason. Like, she shaved like 1/4 the front of him and 1/4 in the back of him, and they were complete opposite corners. Like, it was like the right arm and the left leg. So our poor dog looked like a patchwork job. Like, he looked like some kind of Frankenstein of a dog. So people are looking at us like, oh wow, yeah, and then looking at our dog like, what the hell is that? So the fire settles down, the fire department leaves, everything's right with the world except for the fact that we're kind of homeless now. And it's almost Christmas.
All I want for Christmas is sadness.
So they had already done some Christmas shopping. Oddly enough, they survived. A lot of our stuff survived. We lost some stuff, like a couple of bugs. Like, for me, I lost a couple of like mangas because we got smoke damage and stuff like that, but that's about it. Basement was completely destroyed. So we lost some old family albums and stuff like that. The Christmas gifts oddly survived. Of course, when we, you know, traded gifts, they smelled like pure unadulterated fire. That's a given. We stood in that house for a solid month after the fire. I don't know how we did it. I don't know why. We couldn't even shower in the house, but we could use the bathroom, you know, just to use the bathroom, not shower or anything like that. So we were all staying in the least damaged room in the house together.
all in this together.
And we would go use the bathroom. And again, this is winter time, so it would snow on you when you go into the bathroom to pee, because the top floor was completely like burnt up. So there were holes in the floor, which was our roof on the first floor. And so like it would just snow down into the bathroom. So you're standing there just peeing, and snowfall And you're just there like, what is my life? We had to go to my other aunt's house who lived a few blocks away to take a shower. And she did offer to like let us stay with her. But my dad wanted to like stay in the house to make sure no one tried to burgle the house. Because again, there are holes in our house that people could just walk into now, you know? Someone could easily just get into our house from next door now. People could come through windows that are broken and stuff like that. And so that's like, no, I'm gonna stay. Because I don't want anyone to like break in and steal anything that we have, you know. I had video games, we had TVs, you know, we had different things. Like they're like, we have a lot of stuff that costs money, you know. We don't want to lose that because we're like, oh, I want comfortability. So Dad's like, no, I'll stay. And Mom's like, I'm not letting you stay alone.
All in this together.
So we all ended up staying there for like a full month until like they started. I think they started working on the house. I don't remember. I think they had started working on the house. They had boarded up the windows and stuff before they like, you know, replaced them. And so no one could really get into the house. So that's when Dad was like, okay, I'm gonna go. We can go. So we ended up staying with my aunt for about 6 months until the house was fully functional again. And yeah, and now I have a small panic attack every time there's the smell of fire or a fire truck going in the direction of my house. Is that PTSD? Is that PTSD? Maybe? I'm still on the fact that our neighbors that knew us for years at this point were just like, alright, you had a fire? Peace! And just like... You know what I mean? Like they just poofed. They are good night, I'm going back to bed. There's a fire on the block. There's a lot of commotion going on. That's New York for you though. If that ain't New York, I don't know what is. But yeah, then, you know, obviously I had to miss school for a couple of days. And the teacher I was having a little bit of a tiff with was giving me a hard time because I didn't have a note excusing my absence. Because again, my house burnt down and I clearly smelt of smoke. I clearly smelt, all my clothes smelt of fire. Like not even like, oh, it smelled like cigarettes or something on this kid. No, it smelled like fire. How you're not getting this whiff off of me, I don't know. My new cologne, Eau de Fire. There's something going on. And I was already frustrated because, you know, I had been snowed on while I was peeing. That does something to a man, okay? And a teenage boy at the time, that does something to somebody. Your house burnt down while you were comfortably sleeping for the first time ever because you have insomnia. That does something to you, okay? And so he decided to take the first like 5 or so minutes of class to berate me about how I missed class and how do I expect to pass and blah blah blah, and I couldn't even be bothered to bring an absent note and all this kind of stuff. So I finally snapped. And once he's like, oh, and you couldn't even bother to bring an absent note, I was like, well, I'm sorry, the fire department doesn't give an absent note when your house burns down. And he just stood there in utter shock, his jaw like hung open. He's like, should I have done that? No, but at the same time, yes. You know what I mean? He was being a bit asinine. And so later on in the day, apparently, my parents had called the school and told them what happened and why I was going to be absent. They called them like the day it happened, like, you know, after school hours open. Because again, this is like at 4 in the morning. So they waited till like 9 or 10. They're like, yeah, he's not in today. He's not going to be in for a few days. Our house burned down. And so the school was supposed to tell all my teachers. Apparently, all my teachers knew but him. So either they didn't tell him or when they told him, he half listened. One of the two. But either way, later on in the day, he runs up to me while I'm like going to another class. And he's like, yo, Johnny, real quick. I'm like, what do you want? I'm sorry about it snapping at you. I'm just frustrated with everything going on. He's like, no. I apologize. I shouldn't have said what I said. He apologized. I was a bit shook because, again, this teacher's a bit asinine with it. So he wasn't the type to apologize if he did something wrong or he was being a bit of an ass. So, I'm sorry. They didn't tell me. I wouldn't have come out that way if they would have told me. I am very sorry that you're going through that. If you need anything, let me know. And I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that. Again, I'm sorry for snapping at you. Like, no, I deserved it. When a teacher tells you they deserved you snapping at them, they know they fucked up. But I'm like, okay. And I like walked away. And but like before I walked away, I'm like, but you really couldn't tell? Like I told him like I looked like a mess. Like I usually slicked back my hair back then, and I was like, I looked like a mess. My hair's undone. My clothes smell like fire. Like, yeah, I smell it. I smell the fire, but I thought it was like a wood grill or something. I'm like, I live in the Bronx, who wood grills in the Bronx? So he apologized, and I went about my day. And apparently other people heard about what happened. They're like, can't believe he did that. And I'm like, I know, but I don't want to talk about it. My house burnt down. I'm tired. I'm sleeping in the same room with my parents and my sister and a dog. And I went to use the bathroom and it snowed on me. I lost some of my favorite manga. Come on, let me mourn. Let me mourn the feeling of safety that I had in my house. But yeah, no, it took 6 months for them to finish working on the house to get it to be functional. It was not. But that's a story for another day. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed listening to this. I don't know if I enjoy telling it. Maybe? It was a bit cathartic, so I'll say yes, kind of. But don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and bing bong the ding dong down below to be alerted to whenever I make a new video. And until next time, bye! But seriously, why the one night that I was actually able to sleep?